Hi, Ms. Taran. Great seeing you. Well, virtually. It's 6:05 now. Should we wait a bit longer? Or?
We might still be on standby because if I'm not wrong, oh, okay.
We're live now on YouTube.
All right.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay, so should we go ahead?
Please.
All right. So first of all, thank you everyone for coming. It means a lot, and also we're really hoping that we can make a statement that we're here for you. But my name is Pranav Tatakonda. I'm the Montgomery County Regional Student Government President. And today, MCR and MCJC is hosting a town hall on a student town hall on distant learning. So thank you everyone once again for being engaged, for being willing to be there for your peers, be there for yourself. So I'm excited for sharing some stuff with you guys.
And I'm Shella Cherry. I know you can't see me all, but I just wanted to thank you all very much for joining us. I am the advisor for the Montgomery County Regional SGA, and we'll be supporting the officers throughout their town hall this evening. I will share with you that I'm kind of new with the whole Zoom thing, as many of your teachers are. So please, I beg of your patience and tolerance with us as I continue to learn. And I also appreciate lots of the feedback that we're already getting in the chat. The chat I will share with you from the beginning is only shared with the facilitators, that's the officers this evening. But we will certainly take information from that chat and pass it forward or try to reply to it as best that we can through our meeting today. So I'm glad that you're here.
So what is MCR and MCJC? To start off, MCR is the Montgomery County Regional Countywide High School SGA. So we represent all 25 high schools across Montgomery County. We consist of a body of an executive board with over 100 students from all over the county. And then MCJC is the middle school counterpart, which is like MCR, except it's with the middle school advocates and middle school leaders. And it's from students around all 40 middle schools around the county. And both organizations do a lot with advocacy, representation, leadership development. So, yeah. So today, moderating this town hall is to start off me. I'm Pranav Tatakonda, like I said before. I go to Richard Montgomery High School currently, and I'm a senior.
Hi, I'm Amna Kasai. I am MCR's vice president, and I am a senior at Richard Montgomery High School as well. Thank you guys for coming.
Hi, everyone. I'm Robert. I am a senior at Churchill. I am the MCR treasurer. And once again, thank you all for coming out during these hard times.
Hello, everyone. My name is Simon Debasai. I'm a senior at Shamrock High School, and I am the MCR secretary.
Nate would introduce himself, but it seems like he was disconnected from the call, so he'll be back a little bit later. But our student member of the board, Nate, is joining. Oh, here he is now. Give him one
Hi,
second.
everyone. Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah.
Sounds good. Good to see you all. My name is Nate. I'm your student member of the board this year.
So to talk about the goals for today's meeting, essentially what we are here to do is to connect with our fellow students, but also make sure that we get general feedback from you all and provide MCPS with that data and, to get specific concerns and ideas from kids. We want to make sure that we're connecting with you guys on a very personal level. So we really want you guys to give a lot of general comments, talk about what you're excited about, what concerns you. And, again, just make sure you provide constructive criticism and things that you think that MCPS might be able to do to make things better. One thing we can do is highlight an issue and then discuss about what steps that we can take as a community or what steps MCPS can take as a school system to improve off of that. And just to reiterate what Ms. Sherry said before, we are students, so we will answer these questions to the best of our ability, but we do not know everything. Luckily, we are fortunate to have Nate here with us. And if there are any questions that are too technical for us or any questions that we might not be able to answer ourselves, hopefully Nate or some representative will be able to help us with those as well.
Yeah, and I've been seeing some questions coming in. Again, thank you all for voicing your concerns. We have a Kahoot planned that's going to go section by section. And when we address certain categories of issues we want to talk about, we'll probably address your questions then, but feel free to put them out now. But Mrs. Cherry is going to start a Kahoot soon. That's going to go into an interactive polling portion of the town hall.
So Robert, as Robert just mentioned, we will be joining a Kahoot. The purpose of this Kahoot is to help MCPS gather any data about how you guys are feeling about distance learning, if it's beneficial, how we can craft grading policy, and all sorts of things. Please make sure you use appropriate names and log into the Kahoot. This will be crafting our conversation for tonight.
Be honest with your responses. That's the main thing. We really want to make sure that we're representing all of you guys effectively and accurately. So be honest with your responses. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like not everyone can see and hear us. We are here. We have our videos on. I've been told if you exit your full screen, you might be able to see us. It also could have to do with the screen sharing situation right now.
Mm-hmm. Just to be clear, Robert, did you mention that we are going to be using a random name generator for the Kahoot, or?
Yes, we should be using a random name generator.
Oh, okay.
So it is a random name generator. So we'll just wait to allow for all of our friends to join us on Kahoot. Again, I can't reiterate enough that this is going to be a great way for us to have an interactive conversation this evening. We have several different questions that we want to address with our students and our peers. And we're looking forward to taking that data that you're sharing with us, not only to help us craft our conversation for this evening, but also to share it as a student voice with the MCPS staff in our schools and across the district that can help, this data can help influence any next steps to help continue to make distance learning better for each one of you. So just a moment, again, remember, I asked for your patience. I'm going to slide to the Kahoot so we can get started, and I hope it works.
All right, so the first question, what school grade level are you? This is just to kind of pull our data and see what grade the people who are here at this meeting are. So it's just another data point that we can use. So yeah, just state what educational level you're in right now.
Ms. Sherry, will we be able to put the PIN number in the chat so that if anybody who is just joining now will be able to just pop in at any point?
Once again, welcome to everyone who's just joined. I see that the numbers are increasing as we continue. Welcome. And currently we're right now in the Kahoot portion where we're gathering data, hearing you guys' responses to this quarantine and distance learning. So make sure you find the game pin at the bottom of the screen and join the Kahoot.
And once again, I see a lot of people putting in questions. We really appreciate it. If you have a long constructive criticism or a response that you want to share with MCPS, we're going to be giving a Google form after the town hall as well, where you can leave a very detailed response, sharing personal experiences and things like that, as well as feel free to share them throughout the town hall, and we might share them with everyone else.
There are also many resources included on the slides that we're using today. We'll be sending that out in an email as well. So just be on the lookout for those resources.
Wow, we see that it's an overwhelming majority of middle schoolers here. Well, welcome middle schoolers, and welcome to my elementary schoolers in grades 3 to 5 too, and also all of my fellow high school peers who are in second place. So welcome everyone, and this is great. Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to those elementary students that joined us. That's awesome that you want to have your voice elevated to this level. We appreciate you being here.
Getting involved early.
So the next question is, how are you socially distancing but keeping socially engaged? I know that I am doing everything on this list, but making sure that we're engaged outside of our schoolwork and maybe with our families, always important. Keeps us sane.
I've been doing a lot of like online games. It's something that's I've been doing to stay with my friends, like Netflix party or like online group FaceTime and then play a game online.
Yeah, I've been playing chess a lot with a couple of my friends.
Yeah, you need to play me.
Yeah. Forgot. No, we can after this.
All right.
Yes, it's great that everyone's staying engaged. Feel free, guys, to put in the chat. Send to us anything that you guys are doing. See, we have some other chess fans here.
Yeah, I definitely think it's important to, I think while there's a lot of social media and technology at our fingertips, we have to make sure that we are also doing things that are stimulating, and that we don't fall into a pattern of very tedious and monotonous activities that can be very draining and also just take up a lot of time. I've noticed, at least for me, that when I end up using social media for extended periods of time, it actually has a negative effect on I guess my my excitement and just how I feel. So I definitely think it's important to, I think when especially when you're in high school and you have more responsibility, you should make sure that you are holding yourself accountable.
Yeah, for the people saying reading, totally. That's a great way to pass the time. Take a breath off the social media. You see all these posts swarming your feed. It's always good to take a step back as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Robert, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead and explain this question, Robert.
Oh, sure. What have you done for fun to stay upbeat and positive during the emergency closure? Learning new skills. I know Mnet's making TikTok videos. Participating
I'm not.
or going outside to exercise. I've been trying to go on daily walks. I've been really appreciating, like, all the trees are starting to bloom right now.
Yeah.
My neighborhood has a lot of cherry blossoms. So, like, for that 1 week, it was really, really pretty. Got a lot of pictures.
I definitely tried to learn the guitar. I'm trying. And like you, Robert, I've been trying to go outside often. I've been trying to go on bike rides every day. It's really beautiful out now. So I think this is a perfect chance to try and enjoy that, as long as you're making sure you stay far away from other people.
And for the people that have spring allergies, I feel you. I'm with you on that. I have spring allergies myself, so.
Oh,
I've been actually making a lot of food. I've been making some of the meals at home, working with my parents. Me and my sister, we cooked dinner just the other day, and it was an interesting experience with her. So
I see one of the panelists, Alexandra, said she's learning a new language, which
wonderful.
That's really awesome. I know that some of those services are actually offering free lessons now. So you don't quote me on that, but I've heard that some those platforms are offering free lessons. So I definitely think that's something to take advantage of.
Yeah, there's a lot of free stuff out there right now. For people interested in learning computer science, Code Academy is giving away free pro subscriptions, which are usually like $300 a year. But you can find all these great computer science courses online for free. And I've been trying to take advantage of that. It's really cool.
And speaking of online, if you need access to a Chromebook or a hotspot, these are all over the county. We'll be linking some resources later on in the town hall. But the way it usually works is that you'll get in contact with your school, and then they will set up a Chromebook or a hotspot for you at your nearest location. So it should be relatively easy, but we will link resources.
We're going to get into all of it.
How about you, Nate? What have you been doing for fun?
I fall in the category of making TikTok videos
At home.
But also going out for recreation. I've been going on a walk every day, so I feel like that's been good. But also everybody else has been going on a walk, so that's not so good.
I see Hannah had mentioned that the New York Times is free. I didn't even know that. That's a very, I'm definitely interested. That definitely piqued my interest. I'm going to go look into that.
Can you repeat that one more time? What's free?
The New York Times, like subscriptions, I assume. Oh, for high schoolers. Okay.
Yeah, for high schoolers. If you, at least for Richard Montgomery, we just put in our student account, and our English teachers gave us, full access to the New York Times. So it's a good way to stay updated about what's going on, and a good way to read. If you're not interested in reading out full novels, you can read stuff on the New York Times.
HBO's offering free subscriptions. Thanks, guys, for sharing your life hacks right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. All right, Simon.
Yep. So this question, how are you feeling about the emergency school closures? We're sort of trying to make sure we gauge how you guys are feeling. I know that this is a very difficult and strange time for a lot of us, and really want to make sure that you guys know what resources there are for you, depending on how you feel about this, and knowing that there are ways for you to address your feelings. I know for me, at least, it can be pretty hard sometimes to remember that we're not going to see each other for a while and that school has been closed. So yeah. So again, I've just noticed from these answers, it seems the majority of this actually falls in the same category that I believe. I definitely feel like I have a range of emotions. I think maybe as a senior specifically, I don't know if you others can relate to me, but sometimes the fact that some of our senior events have been canceled sort of comes back in waves. So like you realize, like it's almost like you go through it again and you realize, oh, this has been canceled, or this particular event has been canceled. So it definitely, so it can definitely bring a damper on how I'm feeling. And then I definitely think the other most popular answer, I understand that has to be done. I also agree. I think it's it's for the best, and there's really nothing else that we can do at this point. And I definitely think that's sort of how I comfort myself and just how I reconcile the fact that I won't have to. I won't be able to participate in some of these events.
Yeah, no, it definitely is not ideal. I personally, though, I felt like the week before the closure, I felt like a little unsafe going to school, like just because there's so many people. So in a sense, I'm kind of glad, that I'm home and everyone is, hopefully doing well and healthy, and hopefully we can get out of this as soon as possible. But in the meantime, just relying on our friends and our communities to keep us through it.
Mm-hmm. Actually,
I definitely agree.
And one of our attendees, Benjamin, asked a very important question. He says, social isolation can be very difficult or even dangerous for students with underlying mental health conditions. He's asking what is being done to provide those students with activities to keep them occupied, as well as support to ensure that they have somebody to turn to if they start to experience negative thoughts and emotions. And we do have resources for you guys here. We will be sending these slides out afterwards, so that you guys can have access to this. You won't have to take a picture of it, but Every Mind is an organization that is there to support those who with underlying mental health conditions, or even those who just feel like they have to talk about issues that they are facing. There's also the other tip lines and chats for those who may be experiencing harmful thoughts and such.
Yeah, and our wonderful MCR PR team has been putting out all these great resources on our Instagram at MCR-SGA. Another thing I'd like to add is at least at my school, I go to Churchill. Our school counselors created a Canvas class that people can, schedule appointments or reach out to their counselors. Your counselors are still, working. They can definitely help you out. Shoot them an email and they'll be happy to respond or set up a call. I think that's really important in this time, and your counselors are looking to help you. So it never hurts to check in, and I think they would really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Another interesting question before we continue, from Shayan. I hope I don't mispronounce your names, specifically about MCR executive board applications. That is definitely something to consider, and the current officers will be meeting with the newly elected ones in the coming months. So that will be something that we discuss, and just again follow our Instagram and other social media to make sure you stay updated on how we decide to go about this process.
And if you haven't registered for the election, I think the 15th is the deadline with your advisor.
We also have resources on our MCR Instagram, so make sure you utilize those.
All right, our next question is, how are you feeling about distance learning? For me, I'll be completely honest, at first I was a little nervous, especially because, I've been in classrooms for 13 years and never really had an online class before. So I was definitely worried about how I would be able to learn, and also should I even do the work? But I've learned that distance learning has so many neat resources, and I'm much more comfortable with it now, and I'm able to do my work well. So I see that a lot of you are okay with it, and some of you even have some concerns. That's that's definitely there. And, we all have our concerns about, how we can get our work done, how we can learn. So
If you guys could drop any of your concerns in the webinar chat to us, we would really appreciate it. We'll read some of them out. Personally, one of my concerns is I've been having a hard time keeping track of all of my work. My school's departments have done a really good job of consolidating all of their department work in one email, but I take classes in more than one department. I have 7 classes, so I end up getting, like 5 to 7 emails for the week, and it's very hard to juggle it all for me. I don't know about you guys.
For me, I just never know what classes are mandatory, what platforms we're using. I think the biggest thing about all this is that we're failing to communicate with our teachers and in a way that's like universal and easy for everybody to understand. So I definitely understand any of your concerns, and that's what we're collecting this data for, to see if we can find something that is good for everyone.
Yeah, I definitely
really interesting.
looking through these Pranav, were you gonna say something?
No, go ahead.
As I'm looking through the comments, I definitely noticed that there's a general theme, one specifically about the structure of distance learning and how many teachers, or you guys, have found yourself torn between different platforms and ways to reach your teachers, whether it's Google Classroom or my MCPS Classroom. That's definitely something that that has bothered me and has just proven to be sort of an issue, not just now, but even from the beginning of the school year, because teachers have been able to use either one of those sites to give out assignments. I think now it's just even more pronounced because we're not able to see them in person. So yeah, I definitely think we should find some way to, whether this should be done on a case-by-case basis or be rolled out from top down, and just have some sort of universal medium to communicate and just to go about just to use to access all of these resources would be really nice.
Yeah, and
Indeed, I hate to put you
I'm
on
with
the
you
spot.
guys. I see that many of you guys are mentioning how connections with teachers and how it's hard to communicate with some teachers and how you don't even know the assignments for others and how teachers are communicating that. I faced a similar experience. I've been trying to reach out to my teachers about my IB diploma and what else I need to do, and it's been a little hard to reach out to them and even connect with them, regardless of how many emails I send them, or even just to catch up. I've tried to contact one of my teachers just to catch up with them and ask how they're doing, but I haven't gotten a response since, so I felt a little ghosted. But I'm with you guys with the fact that it's hard to get some teachers.
There's another comment from Alexa talking about her basically is that she finds that her motivation to do work without the structure of a school building is sort of lower, and I can definitely agree with that. Maybe it's a little bit more so for me because I'm a senior. I know you guys are seniors too, so we may feel a little bit less obligated to do the work. I definitely think at this point, especially if you're in high school and your parents have given you that freedom and you've gotten to the point where you have more responsibility, sometimes you might just have to swallow your pride and just be like, I don't know if I'm able to hold myself accountable, mom, dad, or whoever, what adult or guardian I have in this house, please, can you provide me some sort of structure, whether it's giving me a schedule that you can set for yourself, or making sure you enforce not using technology and things that might distract you from doing your work. I definitely think that's—
One more thing, Sherry, before we go on. A student asked if there was tutorials for parents and students on how to use the online resources. I believe MCPS has posted these a little bit a while ago on the distance learning. Nate, is there any way you could tell people where they can find resources on distance learning, as well as any updates or changes happening?
So for updates and changes on distance learning, I know that all MCPS students, for the things that are universal, have been getting emails to their student accounts from it's Need to Know MCPS, and for specific school things. So if your administration is doing something, or your other schools are doing other things, then they can reach out to their administrator and they'd be able to circle back to you.
Call me from downstairs.
Thank you, Nate.
Before we move on to the next question, I also wanted to share that Dr. Smith and the MCPS staff frequently update the Montgomery County Public School webpage. And so there's information about whether it's a message from our superintendent, information about the different resources that are provided, and then also some of the tutorials that you're requesting are there. So please check for any updates, as the district is constantly reviewing what our current state is and how we can support our students, our teachers, and our families to know and understand this new community of learners that we're developing. I also saw there was another question in the chat too, referencing students with disabilities. And so we do have our MCPS staff that are continuing to service those students with disabilities. They're doing outreach to the students and to the families and providing the appropriate accommodations as best as they can through this current phase. And so as I'm constantly reminded, we are learning through all of this process and procedures. And so while nothing is exactly perfect, and we're constantly, doing process checks and seeing how we can make adjustments as appropriate, our MCPS staff is committed to, continuing to professionally develop ourselves to best serve the needs of our students. So I want to just thank that student for their comment there.
Mhm.
And we are getting a lot of questions. If we don't answer your question specifically, please, we are sending all this data to MCPS and they will be looking at your concerns. So just because we don't address your question, we're receiving a lot of them, doesn't mean that someone isn't going to be looking at it.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Robert. Emnet?
So the next question kind of talks about resource allocation, and if you guys are familiar with the resources MCPS has provided for students. And so MCR and MCJC has done their best to provide students with mental health resources, resources for getting Chromebooks, things like that. We posted that all on our Instagram. And MCJC, I just got a little comment, mcjc.sga is also giving out resources, but we do want to know if you guys have any questions about resources. We do have hotspot, MCPS does have hotspots and Chromebooks and all sorts of things to support their students. So yes, that is all.
And for those of you that are just joining, thank you once again for coming. We are currently in a Kahoot where we're just gathering, data from you guys that we can send back to MCPS, and also just answering some of your questions that you have. And even if we don't answer your question, like Robert mentioned before, we are sending everything to MCPS, and they're the ones that are making decisions, and they really value what you all experience. So thank you, and please feel free to share anything that you're experiencing.
Someone just brought up the backpack meals and the meal services that MCPS is providing. I know Nate has been working really, really hard on these services. Nate, can you speak about what's happening so far?
Sure. So as you can see, and I do have to double check to see the updated resources, but for that flyer, MCPS is definitely distributing meals as we are currently not in school and are practicing distance or are going through distance learning. It's the same thing with Chromebook distribution, with also packets, I believe, for elementary schoolers and for backpack distribution. And I know that I've posted that out on social media. I know that MCR, MCJC, and MCPS has been sending that out as well. And as always, if you have any questions, your school administrator or principal should be able to circle back with you to either figure out the closest location to you if it's not your school, or to give you any further resources or information that you may need.
Mm-hmm. And just for clarification, the statistics that were just on the screen were as of April 9th, I believe, right, Nate?
Yeah, and a lot of board members and county council members have been posting resources. A lot of them have Instagrams. Nate's been doing a real fantastic job, we all can say, of putting all these resources on his Instagram. So if you're not following him or MCR, MCJC, I would definitely go do that because you can hear it first from there.
I appreciate that, Robert.
So I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention that MCPS has created a coronavirus webpage that hosts all of this information. It's available to you, to include the recent message from our superintendent, Dr. Jack Smith, information about Chromebook distribution, again, about meals, any other updates, FAQs, and how MCPS is responding to this continuity of learning. There's lots of other resources, especially for our class of 2020. We have lots of information here. And as anything is updated either by the state or by our local district, this information is all available here and will continue to be updated. So please know that the school district is trying to provide us with various different methods to share this information with all of you.
Thank you, Ms. Cherry. Robert?
What type of device will you be using for your online learning, whether through MCPS Classroom or Google Classroom or any other external platform? So, I mean, my teachers have been using, almost all of them have shifted to MCPS Classroom, which has been nice to have it all in one place. But I'm in a few AP classes, so I've been referencing AP Classroom as well as some online textbooks as well. What about you guys?
Yeah, no, that was everything. My stat teacher started using AP Classroom as well. I think we're gonna do a test tomorrow through AP Classroom. I still have to make sure I figure out how it works. But there was a question: if this pandemic isn't over, is this going to be the schedule until the virus decreases? So from what I understand, their school cancellations have been extended until the end of April. And I'm not sure if, I assume that from the trend that we've noticed so far, I believe that closures may be extended, but that is not fact yet. But I think if closures are extended, I know that this process and these circumstances will only continue to get better and better once we become more and more accustomed to using this distance learning and utilizing the technology we have. So I definitely think that the schedule may shift when it comes to when your classes end up happening, or how when you end up meeting with teachers and how frequent you'll be talking to your teachers. And I think that all depends on your class and your teacher.
Yeah, and if we could just look at this chart here, we see that 20% of the students here are using an MCPS device, we're so glad that we've been able to distribute those resources. We've over 43,000 Chromebooks have been given out. And to put that in perspective, we have 165,000 students. So that's about 1 in 4 students have those resources now. So we're really excited that we're now able to continue our e-learning process. And we just got some questions asking about fourth quarter grading system and the e-learning. Pranav, I know you were just talking to some county officials about that. Is there any news on what's happening, whether things are changing, and if when?
So decisions are still being made, and there's still a lot of discussion going on. Yesterday, actually, for those of you who don't follow my Instagram, yesterday I posted a poll just asking students what they would like to see as a possible fourth quarter grading system, because I wanted to hear your ideas. And an overwhelming majority said that there should be some implementation of a pass-fail system, especially this idea of equity and how different students have different settings where they're learning and where they're doing their work. So today I was a huge proponent of the pass-fail system for fourth quarter, and with the possibility of even pushing for a pass-fail to show up as showing up as either pass or fail on the transcript for semester 2, based on leveling the playing field and making sure that certain students are not alienated because they couldn't perform their best in the environment that they're in right now due to this virus. So I've been pushing a lot for that pass-fail system just to keep you guys updated about that, and I'll continue pushing for that. And
I definitely think there has been like a general sort of sentiment from, I guess, high school juniors specifically, and some other students in high school who are somewhat hesitant to accept a pass-fail system because of obviously their GPA and wanting to either maintain a GPA or boost their GPA for college. But I also just want to make sure we're all aware that this is an issue that the country, if the world actually is facing as a whole. And many colleges have actually changed to a pass-fail system. And so I definitely think that that will be taken into account in that. your grades will not be, the grades from this time period when it comes to applying to colleges will probably be weighed a little bit less, even if they aren't on a pass-fail system. So that's just something to think about.
So we've been getting a lot of questions about COVID and closure for next year.
She's breaking.
And then we
I
have,
like there's
I'm
a,
sorry, Emmett, I don't know if you can hear us, but
Well, continuing on.
Or our schools are shut down, then we will begin the school. It's going to look like. We don't know if we're probably not going back, but we just. Sorry.
you've been a little bit,
Magic.
your connection's a little bit spotty, Emmett.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Frozen.
But I also saw a mention, yeah, I mean, you were talking about activities and things that might have been affected by school cancellations, right?
Yeah, that's what she was talking about.
Okay, yeah, there was a question also, I think, up here.
There was some about graduation as well.
Yeah,
To my knowledge, I don't think graduations have been canceled. Likely they will have to be addressed in the upcoming weeks. For people asking about specific after-school activities or specific activities to their school, what's happening with them, that's more done on a school-wide basis. And this is a county-wide call, but I suggest that you reach out to your school administrators and voice your concerns, because the more you voice them, the more likely they're going to address them immediately.
And there was another question similar to that about field trips, and if people will be reimbursed for field trips that have been, I can't find it, but there was a question about field trips and whether or not people will be reimbursed for missing field trips. I also think that will happen on a school by school basis, because I think that depends on, it's just a very unfortunate situation. But I'm sure that there will be some sort of understanding, and that you guys will be reimbursed to an extent. So that is something to think about.
there's also another. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nate. Go ahead.
No worries. Go ahead.
Well, there was also another question regarding SSL awards, and Ms. Cherry is the expert about SSL. So if she wants to say anything about that, go ahead, please.
Sure. So student service learning, there's 2 points that I'd like to just give updates on. One, the award deadline was originally scheduled for April 3rd. It was pushed back to April 22nd. All school principals were shared that information. And so hopefully, and I'll share with you right now, we have been receiving on a constant basis student updates on service learning. Some of the students who have completed service prior to March 13th have been submitting their SSL forms to the SSL Dropbox, which is ssl@mcps-md.org. That information will be reviewed and vetted by myself and Ms. Cluffman, and then we will apply that to the student records. Any information that is received about service learning that has gone through all of the student steps, right? Students have completed the service. There's some kind of validation from the school supervisor or the supervisor of the SSL event, and the students have completed their reflection about their service for that nonprofit agency. Then we will apply it to the student records, and then we close the awards timeline on the 22nd, and all of those students who have the appropriate awards will then earn them. For middle school students, that's 75 SSL hours before 8th grade. And for our seniors, traditionally, it's been 260 SSL hours by April of your senior year. And we changed that. We did a bit of a modification, recognizing that many of our students weren't able to get out there into the community. So we changed that to 240 service learning hours for this year's senior class. So any senior who's earned 240 SSL hours prior to April 22nd will receive a purple tassel and a certificate of meritorious service.
And thank you again, everyone, for your questions. Some people have been asking some very specific questions, which are great. But in terms of what priorities we're giving to MCPS, I don't think, and so MCPS's priorities right now, making sure everyone has the resources they have, making sure everyone's hooked up to the internet, hooked up to e-learning, and then making sure everyone, feels comfortable with this new adjustment. So some of the things about sports starting again, or whether the park testing will be done, will definitely be addressed. But MCPS's first concern is making sure everyone is okay and everyone has the resources they need.
Ms. Sherry, I think some may have still been confused about turning in their self forms virtually. Do you think you could clarify that or repeat that one more time?
Yes, so students who are working towards their awards can take a picture of it. They can scan it. One of my favorite free apps is Scannable, which you can actually take a picture of it and it scans it as a PDF. And then you can send that to the email Dropbox, which is ssl@mcps-md.org. Ms. Cleffman and I review that on a daily basis, and we review and vet all of those service learning opportunities and apply the hours to student records if they're appropriate. Some of our
So I quickly just want,
please go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No,
No,
please.
it's fine. Go ahead. Okay, so I just quick, not to change topics too quick, but I quickly wanted to answer the fourth quarter grading question. So originally, we were waiting for guidance by the Maryland State Department of Education, and today they discussed publicly that it's the whole grading topic is sort of going to be left up to local jurisdictions, meaning that if Baltimore County were to choose something or decide a grading policy for fourth quarter, they would do that. And if Montgomery County would do the same, they'll do that too. So I know that I believe it's this week or it's early next week that our deputy superintendent and superintendent will come out with their plan for fourth quarter grading for those who had that question.
Thank you.
That was a informative response. We needed that. Thank you. Simon?
So this next question is, we're also just trying to gauge the sort of the work environments you guys have at home. We're trying to find out how you guys are able to get work done. In fact, whether or not you have a space, because I know, at least in my situation, I'm fortunate enough to have a designated office area to do my work. And we recognize that not everyone has access to those options. And we're just trying to make sure we get a sort of, we're able to figure out, who is working in what situation. So it seems that we have somewhat split answers. I definitely think, of course, the majority shows that these students are working in their bedrooms, it's around 60%, but still a little bit over 20%, wait, no, I think close to 30%, or 25% of students don't actually have a space to work, which is definitely something that it's very unfortunate. It speaks to the inequities that exist in our communities as a whole. And I at least, I guess, what I can't necessarily speak to those who are in that situation, but I definitely think you should try to come to a agreement with the other parties in your house and set up a way for you to get your work done, or have a schedule where that designated space is yours and yours alone, and then do work that you have, the work that you have in that time frame.
This is a very big concern and things for MCPS to keep mindful of when regulating this e-learning process. And I think we can continue with the next Kahoot question. If everyone could please continue with the Kahoot. This data is going straight to MCPS, so this is your time to voice your concerns.
Mm-hmm.
Now is the time that we're actually getting to some stronger questions that really require your feedback. So with as many participants that we have on here now, we hope to have all of you participate.
Mm-hmm. These questions are really the ones that will speak to sort of, again, I mentioned the inequities in our communities and support things like a pass-fail system, and just give MCPS the context they need to make that decision. So it's just something you guys should make sure you're aware of.
Definitely. And if you have a great concern that is not in this, please feel free to send it in the chat, and we are going to be, keeping log of all of that. And we'll also be sending out a Google form later for more constructive criticism as well.
Oh, wonderful. Denise has a great question regarding many older students are in charge of their younger siblings during the week and are therefore responsible for the siblings' work along with their own. What is MCPS's response to this? And once again, we're all students here, and we don't have the answer. We don't have the answers to all of these questions. But I just wanted to bring that up because that is something that is seriously being considered when making decisions about, things like fourth quarter grading, because this repeated idea of equity, which is so important for MCPS, and to ensure that even in times like this, we're ensuring equitable practices.
Yes.
So to make sure that, grades and student success is not barred by these responsibilities, like you mentioned, Denise. One thing that I'm really advocating for, and many students can agree with me on, is the pass-fail system that I really hope to see happen, at least in fourth quarter. Thank you for that.
Yeah, this time has really illustrated a lot of inequities and concerns that we've never really thought about before. So in this time, we're really trying to, hear everyone's concerns, and that's why we're having this town hall. That's why we're collecting this data. And that's why sometimes we're taking a while to think about all these different concerns when making decisions. And we really want to make sure we're addressing all the different perspectives in the county.
And I asked if fourth quarter grades would be as strict if we're helping our younger siblings. The reason that the county is taking so long to decide and figuring out what the best plan is because we're trying to find the best plan. So obviously there will be increased leniency with our students because of this situation. So don't worry too much. We're doing our best.
And I see on the screen, it says 47% of people just feel that they learn better at school and they're a little uncomfortable with the e-learning process. Could you guys drop in the chat, like any specific concerns? What about e-learning makes it more difficult for you? Is it the communication? Is it the fact that it's on a screen? Personally, I like writing things out. Everyone has their own unique experience with this process.
I agree, Robert.
You guys could just leave your concerns in the chat. We'll try to address them. We'll send them to MCPS to look at as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you,
And I
Rob.
think seeing 38% of the students responding with teachers won't give me direct or individual support is good feedback for teachers to hear about how they're going to interact with their students and what is a need from the students and what they feel would be a better way to support them and get all students feeling more comfortable with this new classroom environment.
Yeah, and I'm with you all on that. I agree with the 38% who voted that.
Me too.
I definitely do want to make sure I have the opportunity to get my IB diploma. So I definitely hear you all.
Yeah, and this is a really hard time for teachers as well. And we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Eminent?
So distance learning so far has been, and then let us know what distance learning has been for you guys, if it's been easy, if it's hard, I know for me it's really difficult to manage the assignments and platforms. So we just want to know, in your opinion, how has distance learning been working out, so we can modify based on that.
And again, this is a learning experience for everyone, and unfortunately we all are kind of forced to be the guinea pigs. But we've never, a lot of our teachers, this is their first time using a lot of these online platforms, and of course it's going to take some time for both them and us to adjust. So we appreciate everyone coming on and voicing their concerns. And we also really appreciate our teachers who are working so hard trying to figure everything out, trying to communicate with their students. Personally, I've seen some of my teachers had some questions about the online platform. And I reached out to them and offered to show them how to use Zoom, how to use, Classroom or whatever. So if you see, your teacher wants to help but doesn't know how, you could always send them an email. And I think you and your classmates will really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. There's also seems to be a general theme of concerns when it comes to communication with teachers. I found that it was pretty hard to get a hold of my teacher through email sometimes. Maybe it's a mixture of them being constantly bombarded with emails from students in the county, and things can get buried. I definitely found that my emails get buried sometimes when I'm expecting something from someone. One thing that I definitely thought was helpful was creating, or at least one thing my teacher did was just create a group me, which I guess it's just a more direct way to contact your teacher because we're all on our phones nowadays. And usually when I text my teacher through group me, she's 5 or 2 minutes out, and she gets back to me pretty quickly.
And also, teachers aren't able at the moment to talk to students one-on-one on Zoom because of legal reasons. So I know that my English teacher, for example, after having a class discussion on an individual assignment, will have a small group of us. So it'll be like 3 or 4 people that I'll talk to our teacher at once. And emails, every teacher has about 150 students plus, or a little bit less than that. So they have a lot to manage, but just keep trying, and hopefully as days go on, they respond back and are doing their best as well.
Yeah, and take advantage of office hours if your teachers are offering times for people to ask individual questions. Another feature that some of my teachers have been using on MCPS Classroom is called the groups feature or the discussions feature, where if you don't know other students, you can post a question and you guys can talk about how you're approaching those problems. In case you don't have a group chat for that class or whatever, you can still reach out to other students and see, if you have a question on a specific problem or a topic.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, Robert.
What do you most want teachers to do to make distance learning better for you? And once again, please answer, because this is going directly to MCPS. And if there's something on here that you don't see or another idea you have, please drop it in the chat as well.
Oh, great question, Denise. Once again, if a student wants to have a face-to-face conversation or even a phone call with the counselor, how would this work with the legal aspect in mind? Once again, Christina, sorry. Once again, I don't think we have the answer to that, but that's something that I wanted to highlight, because that is a really good point, and that is something that we will take back and especially highlight. So thank you for that once again, Christina.
Yes, and you can always reach out to your counselors via email. And I assume that they're going to be briefed on how to approach these types of situations. I know some people personally don't feel comfortable, speaking in their house aloud about some of their, personal problems. And I'm sure that counselors are trying to address this. We also have some resources we've culminated for you guys. Mrs. Chair, if you could pull up some of those slides about the mental health resources. We do have some hotlines. MCPS runs some hotlines that have been very helpful. Every Mind, Safe Schools Maryland. There's plenty of resources, and if you look on the MCPS website, there's many ways for you guys to get some help or reach out to people if you need to talk.
Mm-hmm. And just to make sure we're aware, I saw a comment from Sophia saying, she said she is somebody who has a very personal connection with MCA, the teachers union, and has interacted with teachers directly many times. And she says she hears that teachers have been struggling with online learning as much as we have, and this is a new environment for them as much as it is for us. So we also just got to make sure we're aware of that, and it can be hard, to accept that at times, because usually our teachers are so put together and they have these lessons plans for us, and it's just it's been crippled almost. It's just very hard for them too. So let's just make sure we're aware of that as well.
And James Moo, he has a suggestion that I have seen. A suggestion that he has seen work over the past week is a teacher would end a class meeting and the students who have questions would stay and discuss those problems right after the class on the same call. So thank you, James, for that suggestion.
A lot of my teachers have also done that. We'll talk, and once they go through all of their whatever they need to go, students can stay behind and ask any questions. So that's worked as well.
Well, for me, one thing that I don't know if that's the same. I don't know why, but when my teacher ends a call, it ends the call for everyone. I don't know if that's if that depends on the teacher. Is that something that you can change?
I think he's saying that the teacher stays on after the class and answers extra.
I see.
Some
The
of my
call
teachers
doesn't end,
have
the
been
teacher
doing that
stays.
as well. There's a lot of great features online. Some of my teachers that have been using Zoom use some polling features. Like Zoom has a feature that allows people to annotate on the same board. So she'll have people, write on the board, write their responses, and that way it engages students. So if you see some features, or like breakout rooms, for example, for group projects, if you see features that you like, it's always a good idea to voice it to your teachers, because they're trying to figure this out as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Robert.
So the next question is, would you meet with your teacher if they offered hours outside of their online class? So, this is definitely something that for me depends on the teacher. Yeah, actually the yellow one if I needed the help. I'm not sure what is defined as specifically their online class because, well, I assume the office hours that we're referring to are the ones that have already been, at least my history teacher specifically is the one that gives out a lot of those. And if I'm struggling with the topic, I usually go, but if not, I don't feel the need. And that's me specifically. But I know there's some, people, some students that have connections with their teachers and or their friends and would like to see them often. And that's definitely something that I recognize as well.
Could you guys
Yeah.
put in the chat, like how often have your teachers been publicizing opportunities for you guys to interact with them?
Mm-hmm. At least I know for my teachers, at least it depends on, it's a case by case basis, but for at least my history teacher, it's at least once a week that he offers some sort of office hour opportunity. If it's, if it's just something that we need to talk about, or if it's a problem I'm having with the class. But I know that depends on the teacher.
And do you guys feel that in the chat, if you could tell us if you feel you need more opportunities to interact?
Yeah,
So
definitely.
my teachers, for example, will say, I'll be on classroom from these hours and anything you write, I will reply to immediately.
It seems like some teachers, it seems like a lot of you guys are saying that you don't, there isn't much interaction with your teachers at all. So that's definitely something that we should, give back to MCPS, and something that we should try to make sure MCPS knows. What would be the ideal, I guess, for you guys? What would be the most ideal for you guys when it comes to meeting with your teachers? I know it depends on the teacher and depends on the class, but generally, just put in the chat, how many times a week would you guys like to meet with your teachers? Or what would be the most ideal for you?
And for the people asking about the curriculum and the rigor and the content, as soon as the better we can establish this communication between students, the better education experience we can provide for you guys. I know a lot of people are concerned about exams, concerned about, finishing that content for whatever the next years are to come. So we're really working on this as hard as we can, and we need your feedback to make it better so we can address these concerns.
So keep on feeding those ideas, feeding those questions.
There's one question from Denise, very interesting.
Christina.
Oh, Christina?
Yeah, she
Yeah, it's
using your mom's computer.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
With teachers working so incredibly hard during this time and Teacher Appreciation Week being the first week in May, how can students recognize this and virtually thank them for all they're doing? This is definitely something that we should think about, whether it's maybe a social media campaign or just a surprise that you with your class, create, or again, something that you post on your Instagram or on your Twitter or Snapchat. That's definitely something that we should think about. I thank you for that comment, Christina. And I think I'll also incorporate that in my personal experiences in my life with my teachers, because that's not actually something that was on my mind. I think I was too busy worrying about, I guess, my life and my issues to even think about that as well. And I also, from my previous question, I saw that a lot of students are saying they would like to meet with their teachers at least once or twice a week. I definitely think that's the same for me, and I think that's definitely doable. And again, I mentioned before, as we do more and more of this distance learning, I think, and the more accustomed we become, I think it'll become more efficient and more streamlined. So I definitely think that is on its way.
So I noticed in the chat, there were a couple of questions about summer school, and even teachers worried about summer and preparing for next year. I think that's also on the hearts and minds of a lot of our students, our families, and of course, our MCPS professionals. And so, as we know more about what's happening around us from a health standpoint, Montgomery County Public Schools is committed to making sure that they don't make rash decisions, that the district makes strong and intentful decisions with lots of different data. So that being said, once Montgomery County or the state of Maryland has any particular decisions that are made, MCPS responds to that as appropriate. And so it's one of those things for me. I'm planning on going back in May, but that's one part of me. And then another piece of me says, we know what the current health stance is, but until we receive an official communication that MCPS has any other decisions than returning at the end of April, then we'll move forward with those next steps. So as someone who provides support throughout the entire school year, I'm still planning for summer, in hopes that we will still be able to continue many of our activities and events. But I also know that it will be dictated by some of the other decisions around us regarding the new state of the world, the environment, and the health of all of our community members. So I know that there's frustration with that. And so sometimes we just kind of have to pause in that moment and recognize that we're all in this together. And, together we'll get through it and move forward. I do recognize our time, so I want to make sure that we get to some of these other questions. But please know that the feedback that you're providing to MCR and MCJC, as well as all of the information in the chats, will be saved and will be shared with Montgomery County Public Schools. This is important information for us to be able to review as we try to make things better for our students. For any of you who just joined us, we are working on a Kahoot. And so if you want to join us on the Kahoot for the last few questions, we have a few more just to close this out, but these are important questions for the students to get your feedback, and of course from Montgomery County Public Schools. So please join us.
Ms. Cherry, I saw a few questions in there.
Sure.
On the SMOB election, are you able to discuss any future plans, if any of them are made public yet?
Certainly. So the SMOB election has been moved to May 20th, 2020. Obviously, the original date was April 22nd, which is during our emergency closure. So our staff has been working diligently to create various plans. We actually had plans for us to return in mid-April. Then we had plans for us to return to be back in for the April 22nd election. Now we're moving forward. We have two plans for May 20th, one to include if we are in school and one to include if we are at home. The good news about the election is the SMOB ballot has always been an electronic ballot held and run by a third-party organization called VoteNet. They are our contractor that has always handled the ballot. And so we can always proceed online, regardless if we're in school or at home. So once we know more information, we will continue to prepare and plan for May 20th in schools. And if we're not in school, we still have another plan to help make sure that all students can access the ballot. So for those of you who are secondary students, all grades 6 through 12 will receive some communication by the end of this week. And that information would also include information about the candidates. So you'll meet each one of them virtually, if you will. We have links to their Meet the Candidate profiles. And then we also have links to Meet the Candidates video for all of our students to be able to hear their insight about key issues dealing with students in Montgomery County Public Schools.
Great. And I'm assuming the voter guides will be sent out along with that as well.
The voter guides are that candidate profiles, and yes, they will be all sent out together. Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
When you feel stressed, what do? I talk or text a friend or a trusted adult. I could be a counselor as well. I take a mindfulness moment. I take a breath and do something else. I don't know what to do.
I want to take a point. I want to just take a moment to highlight mindfulness moments. At least at my school during advisory, our teachers made us do these every single time we met. And I don't know. I think it's also just because of Be Well 365 and just MCPS's new policy, and a higher emphasis on mindfulness and on learning things like breathing techniques and being able to sort of calm yourself. And that's actually something that I've utilized now. And I use it in other parts of my life too, like if I'm ever nervous before a race, or like, any time that I would like to, learn to calm myself down. It's definitely something that has helped me personally.
Yeah, I found going outside is been big for me because I usually never really went outside just for the sake of going outside.
Me neither.
Not for people with allergies though.
Yeah, sorry, Pranav.
I'm kidding, but for those who, there's actually a good percentage of those who said that they don't know what to do. And for those that don't know what to do, how about some of you guys, type in your ideas or share what you do if you're feeling stressed and you know what to do. So then those who don't know what to do, they can get some advice. And this Cherry pulled up something great about Be Well 365.
And again, Yeah, all of these resources are going to be sent out to you guys in an email after the meeting, as well as a Google form for you guys to give any more just more longer and in-depth constructive criticism. So just for those.
A
Yeah,
lot
I see a lot of people going outside. That's awesome.
Yeah.
are going outside, they're exercising. Everyone's trying to push me into exercising, but I refuse to do it.
Yeah, Richa mentioned that she likes to think what could be worse, and then I feel better. I definitely think that's a technique my parents have used, or at least have told me when I'm feeling down. It's definitely something. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. At least for me personally. But I love going outside. I think biking has just become one of my favorite hobbies. Like I just love it so much.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think
know that
it's such a-
MCPS, I'm sorry, just please know that MCPS has created these mindful moments. They are available on YouTube, and it's just about 10-minute videos. I'll share a personal anecdote that I have an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old, and I've actually assigned them one each day, and they have started to actually use these practices in their daily life, even at a young age, because they are invaluable and life skills that we can all use, whether it's stress for school or stress with a friendship or stress with, a particular condition that we're dealing with. So please take a look at these and see what might be something that would be a strategy for you, especially for those who are stating with 20%, right, that they don't necessarily know what to do.
Rory Davis.
Sometimes it's hard when it's like such uncertain times and you don't really know what's happening. But what I found helpful is creating a list of things that you need to get done this week and things that you want to get done this week. And totally focus on get the things you need done, but then spend a lot of your time on the things you want to get done. Whether that's some people taking up arts and crafts projects or making TikToks if that's your thing, or going outside, reading a new book. If you can find like one thing to focus on and get excited about, I think that can help you through these tough times.
One student, Rory Davis, mentioned that his soccer team has done Zoom meetings and it feels good to talk to his teammates. That's really awesome. I definitely think you should find some way to do an activity with your friends online or something. A friend of, I guess a group of my friends, what we do is there's this board game, but it's also a virtual game called Risk, and it's basically Robert knows. it's almost like you have to take over the world in a sense.
There's Catan online. If you guys know that game, it's really fun.
Yeah, and what we do is we have like a Skype or a Discord open where we talk and then also play the game at the same time. It's just the game is sort of like background noise in a sense, where you're still playing it, but at the same time you get to spend a lot of time talking to your friends. It's just like an excuse to talk, which is great. I really enjoy that.
Another great idea, creating a positivity jar and putting something good that happens in every day. Wow, I like that idea a lot. Yeah.
That's
A lot of
awesome.
students are saying they like Risk, which is great. You guys should play it. There's an app for it, so it's really fun.
And if you
So
guys
really
have a
cool.
class that you really like some of my classes have just been putting together like group calls just for fun and everyone to catch up with each other.
Yeah.
I think that's helped a lot of people like have a sense of sanity, seeing some of the people that they haven't seen in a while, being able just to talk. And I'm sure if you ask your teachers to put something together, they'd be more than happy to do that.
Mm. That was me.
Emnet.
Oh, okay.
You're
She-
muted.
You're muted, Emmett.
Emnet.
Sorry, guys. But the question for now is, what type of support do you guys feel you need? Whether it's check in with a mental health professional or just support with your family, your teachers, whatever MCPS can do, we'd love to help you do it. But we do need this information. So whatever you guys need, make sure you're honest and leave in the chat. If you don't, if nothing's here that you do, go ahead and
Remember your responses are not tied to your name. That filling this out's not, if you check that you need a counselor, you're not going to get a call from them tomorrow. But this is to give data to MCPS so they know that where people need help and how they can help them.
Mm-hmm. So it seems like the majority of you say that you only need support from your teachers, which is really interesting, and it's definitely a data point that MCPS will take seriously. And And I think in the interest of time, we're gonna have to move a little bit faster because we are nearing the end of our meeting. So what question are we on right now, Ms. Cherry?
14.
14. So I just want to take this time, and I know we keep going back to the same slide, but there were several of you that talked about wanting to talk to a mental health professional. And so I think it's timely that we just remind you about these services that these organizations provide. They are on 24/7. So please do take note of these, reach out to them if that's you, because there's someone out there to, work with you and to support you at any time of need. So if that's you, whether it's when you say you need to talk with a mental health professional, you've got some right here, literally at your fingertips. And again, we'll forward this information to you all following the meeting today.
All right, Robert.
What are you worried about most? And, I hate to ask this question to make you guys think about it, but, this is really important for MCPS. And remember, it's not tied to your name. This is just going to be really useful data so they know what to prioritize when they have so many different things going on.
And go ahead, Robert, finish.
Finalizing the year with good grades, completing graduation requirements, not participating in your extracurriculars, or being disconnected from your friends and staff.
So these options, of course, they're pretty limited since you only have 4. And I think this is definitely one of a prime example of something that you can include or personalize when you submit a general comment, through that Google form that we will send out. So definitely, I think that is something that you guys should think about.
Yeah. And any personal stories, feel free to share them in the chat just for MCPS to see like specific things that people are going through. So they have like something to think about when they're thinking of all these things.
One attendee mentioned that Lee's SGA held a Zoom call and came up with a hoodie themed Zoom call for classes to get students encouraged and lift spirits. Yeah, I definitely think utilizing your SGA to create some sort of spirit week or some sort of virtual spirit activity. At least Springboks SGA did that as well. We had an at-home spirit week, and one of them was TikToks, of course, creating a TikTok.
Classic.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we sent out an email to all high school SGAs about a contest that MCR is running, a spirit contest. So if you haven't got that email, please reach out to us on our Instagram at MCR SGA. We are giving a big prize, and we want to make sure that SGAs are helping build spirit in their communities through spirit weeks or whatever.
And our last question.
So what are you most grateful for during this emergency closure? We didn't want to end this meeting on a sour note, so we just want to make sure we look on the bright side and remain optimistic. So we just make sure that we're reflecting on the good things that might have come out of this. I know for me personally, my sister was supposed to be, she would have stayed in California for a summer fellowship, and then she would have went to England next year for another thing. So I wouldn't have seen her for another 8 months. And I am really grateful that I've gotten this time to spend with her. And it is something that, I've able to reflect on and appreciate, even though I'm stuck at home.
Yeah. And while being with family sometimes is hard 24/7, I've really been trying to appreciate, the time having everyone under one roof. My sister is in college now. When she left, I thought that would be the last time we'd have a lot of time together. So it's really nice to have her around, although she might not say the same thing, but.
Yeah, same. My sister wants to be she wants to be gone. She wants to go back to school. But I noticed before we left the Kahoot that a lot of you guys said you're grateful for being healthy and safe. That is definitely something that we should make sure we always remember. Because there are many in our county, in fact, that aren't. So I definitely think that's always something that we should make sure we reflect on and be grateful for.
Yeah, so thank you all for those responses. We really appreciate it. You guys stayed engaged throughout, not only in the Kahoot, but also in the chat. And that was really, really helpful for us. And more importantly, it was helpful for MCPS officials who will be, really deciding our next steps for our education for this remaining school year and however long the outbreak lasts and our action lasts for it. So once again, thank you guys so much for your time with that Kahoot and
Couple more.
So we'll move on to the next portion of our town hall now. So talking a little bit more about Be Well 365, we mentioned a lot about mental health resources. And this is just a really informative slide, just that's been put together to, just have some practices that you all can do during this time. Staying in touch with friends. My practice is at least every other day I have a Zoom call or group FaceTime call with some of my friends, and we just fool around at nighttime. To be honest, I'm in my room, and sometimes my parents are concerned by how much I'm laughing late at night. But just to stay in touch, because I miss a lot of them. So, and I'm sure that Mnet, Simon, Robert can agree, and even Miss Cherry with her friends, with her family.
I'm being very responsible for now.
We're just trying to stay in touch with our loved ones and friends who we can't see at home during this time. Getting exercise, stopping and taking a breath, talk to someone if you need help. These are all just really useful ways that you can practice during this time, because I know how emotionally and mentally tolling this can be. I'm experiencing that myself. And yes, thank you to all the teachers and staff who are really working towards making our education high quality and a reality even during this time. Regardless of the complications that might occur in our online platforms. One thing for certain is that arts teachers are really, really working hard to make sure that we get our education. And I'm noticing that firsthand, and I'm sure that many of you guys are also noticing that. So thank you for all our teachers and staff who are making this a reality. That goes to Miss Cherry too. She was the backbone of this entire presentation and the Kahoot, and really getting this as a reality. So us having this town hall and giving this information and this session for you all, largely due to Miss Cherry's work. And she's definitely in that category of staff who's working towards our education, as well as, Miss Clefman, Miss Tehran. We thank all of you for your service and your help.
A lot of unsung heroes, behind the scenes making this work, both in MCPS and at your schools. If you have a second, I'm sure your teachers would appreciate a thank you email, or just mention it next time you send them an email. They're working really hard to try to make this work for everyone. Also, I think for our feedback, if you guys could put in the chat whether you thought this would help, this was helpful, whether you'd want something again like this, or how us as MCR, the county SGA, can benefit the students.
And just to echo what one of the attendees was mentioning, Teacher Appreciation Week is coming up, and I think now even more than ever is a time where we should, highlight the work that our teachers have been doing, and it'll be a good way for us to come together in a time where we've been very divided and isolated. So I definitely think that's something we should remember, and something that we should act upon.
So there are a couple of comments in the chat that I just wanted to quickly respond to. There were students that actually RSVP'd to the original request to participate in this meeting. And then we also then made it public on the MCPS webpage and on YouTube. So we will be able to share this with you all afterwards. Those of you who actually RSVP'd, provide us with your email addresses. That's how you got the special link to come in and participate in the chat portion of it. So those students will be receiving a copy of the slides and the information here. Again, we have saved the chat so we could take any comments or questions that we didn't get to and share that with others. Lastly, I just wanted to ask if someone from MCR would just share a little bit about what the high school virtual, or high school or middle school, even our elementaries have been doing this, providing the virtual spirit weeks. What did that look like for some of our schools, as others it looks like are looking to implement?
I can speak on it a little bit, at least for my school specifically. We even had this discussion amongst the officers and you, Miss Cherry. At least Springbrook just had, similar to how we do Spirit Week before a like a pep rally or a football game or homecoming. Each day has some specific activity, whether it's wearing Springbrook themed clothing, or wearing a specific color, making a TikTok, and all of this stuff is either sent directly to is sent directly to the SGA account, which our school has. And from there, our school highlighted those students through their own Instagram or other stories and things like that.
Can we take a second to talk about what MCR and MCJC is, Mrs. Cherry? If you could pull up that information. Pranav, do you want to speak to that?
Love to, yeah. I can speak about MCR and we can have our exec board member for MCJC, Emnet, speak about MCJC. So MCR is basically, like I mentioned before, it's the high school student government, and it represents all the 25 high schools across Montgomery County. And it's an organization that has a body, it's an executive board, and it also has a general assembly, which is, I'll talk about the executive board first. So the executive board is a group of students, around 100 or so, from around the county, who are appointed to 9 different departments, ranging from legislative affairs to community relations, to public relations, to educational policy. And we do a lot of work regarding advocacy. We try to focus on issues that are really prevalent throughout the county and are really like pressing issues. For example, we went to Annapolis this year, to the state capital, Annapolis, to talk about a variety of different issues that affect Montgomery County, specifically Montgomery County Public Schools. And we also have many opportunities for students to testify and advocate for the Board of Education and the County Council, the most notable of which is every year in January, a large group of MCR students goes and testifies about funding for the operating budget and where exactly we would like the funds to be allocated for, like ESOL programs or better food. We share a lot of ideas. And the General Assembly, it consists of delegates from all 25 high schools. And it's basically the opportunity for student leaders from around the county to network and hear more about what MCR does. And this is a huge part of leadership development too, and just gaining really nice skills about being a leader. So yeah, and Emnet will talk more about MCJC.
Yes, so very quickly, MCJC is the middle school counterpart to MCR. It's our middle schoolers who do the same kind of thing as MCR does. We take part in Advocacy Day just like MCR does. We hold our own fundraisers, and it's a lot of leadership development and training so that our students are prepared for high school and joining our countywide student government in high school as well. So if you are interested in reaching out to any of these organizations, you can send us a DM on Twitter or Instagram, and also email us. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, and thank you again, everyone, for coming. We really appreciate that you guys took the time out of your night. And, it's clear that a lot of you are really passionate about this. So I would really encourage you to reach out to MCR and continue making this change, especially people asking about, is there going to be more town halls? How else can we reach out? We're looking for you guys to help. So please connect with us so we can help you.
Yeah, really, truly. Thank you guys for participating. This wouldn't have happened without any of you. So we really appreciate your input, and we hope that we can use this to make some sort of substantive change. Thank you.
There was a student on the chat that had asked to go back to the 24/7 hotlines. So I just wanted to make sure that I posted those back up there for them to see, to ensure that those were visible. And before we close out tonight.
And I think someone a while ago asked about domestic violence resources. The Montgomery County Family Justice Center has a lot of great resources and information on that. A lot of MCPS hotlines as well as national hotlines, and I would definitely look into that if you need to talk to someone.
All right, so with that, that's the conclusion of the town hall. Thank you all once again for coming, and hope you all have a safe and healthy time. And please reach out to us if you have any other questions. Goodbye, everyone.
We'll stay
Thank you.
posted. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram so that we can share with you if we have another occasion like this again soon.
Thank you, guys.
And we'll be sending out a Google form after the meeting.
Yep.
Oh,